All right, guys, thanks for coming tonight. My name is Dr. Ross, for those of you who don't know me. Tonight we got a totally different presentation than we normally give at this time of year. Normally I give the weight loss talk, and I planned for that all week, and then last night I threw it all out the window and I said I'm going to go a different way. And I'm going a different way for a number of reasons. Not that we don't get people that are very successful in losing weight, but really I want to send people on a different path. That's the whole goal of our clinic, and that's the goal of tonight's talk. And I call the talk New Year, New You. So every year at this time, people come up with their resolutions and they say, I want to accomplish something different. I want to get my body different. I want to be healthier. I want to lose weight. I want to whatever. And so the premise is good, but why do a lot of people fail? Because they start out real strong and then they fizzle out. And then by the time the end of January comes by, all the machines are open at your gym, and you know everything is good again, and you know the people that want to work out are still working out. So the whole point of tonight is to give you some little keys that'll help you do these things on a regular basis. In other words, make a lifestyle change. So Harvard study that was done 2 years ago showed that 97% of the diseases in the United States, and as you probably know, if you've listened to me or heard me on the radio or whatever it is, 97% of the diseases in the United States, which has the most diseases out of any country, 97% are not genetic. Only 3% are genetic. So that means 97% are lifestyle choices. They are choices that we make on a daily basis, choices that we make on a weekly basis, choices that we make on a monthly basis, that make us more susceptible to these diseases. The big three diseases, of course, are heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. And if you look at the United States, as a general rule, because we do live in the United States, we have the highest rates of heart disease out of any other nation per person. We have the highest cancer rates, we have the highest diabetes rates. So yes, I'd love to give you a talk on how to look better in your bikini and how to lose weight and how to magically become healthier and stuff. But the reality is, if you change your lifestyle, you make yourself a much healthier person. And it's not just change your lifestyle over the next 3 months or until bathing suit weather or whenever. The process there is to change those habits for a lifetime. You do that, you'll be a much healthier you, which decreases your chance of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, all the rest of them. So the premise that we're led to believe, and I don't want to, because once I was doing some practice and I just kept going to the medical side, why it doesn't work and all that kind of stuff. And I don't want to get on that. But the premise that we're led to believe is that we are genetically poor, that we're born with these genetic weaknesses. In fact, the government allowed drug companies to patent genes. Patent genes. So if I found a gene that I could prove caused breast cancer, or caused colon cancer, or caused prostate cancer, or caused something, I could actually patent it, and nobody else can make drugs except for me that affect that gene. Now, and I'd make millions, yeah. It'd be like me saying, I discovered that the hand can hold a pen, therefore this hand, it belongs to me. It's incredible that they would say a part of you belongs to them. So the reality is, and Harvard and all these studies are showing that it's not your genes, that it's not your bad luck, it is your lifestyle. And so here's the cool thing about it. You change your lifestyle, you change you. You change the way your body expresses those genes. Turns out that 99.9% of all of us in this room, of all of us in this community, of all of us in the United States and the world, 99.9% have the exact same genetics. So if we map the genetic code between any other human and us, 99%, 99.9%. Guess what it is for monkeys? 99.4. So we have almost the same genetic code as monkeys, but they clearly express differently, and all of us express differently. But the cool thing is, if you change your lifestyle, you will actually express that code differently. That's pretty humongous news, wouldn't you agree? Because we can actually express our genetic code differently. Very, very powerful stuff. So when we talk about the 3 areas that we need to work on,
or the 3 areas of weakness, we talk about how we move, how we eat, and how we think. These are the 3 areas of biggest weakness in our society. Now that's pretty broad categories, how we move, how we eat, how we think. So we're going to talk about little keys. I don't expect anybody to take everything that I say tonight and put it into practice and become perfect like I am. But I do expect, take little things. If you can get a little thing and put that into place, awesome. If you can take, little bits. And that's where I always call them innate thoughts. As chiropractors, we believe in a powerful intelligence within you called the innate intelligence. And when you're sitting in a seminar, I know like Dr. Katie and myself, we have to go to these seminars 24 hours a year now. They upped it. But we're sitting in these seminars, and they could be talking about x-rays and talking about blah, blah, blah. But sometimes your brain just clicks in, and something happens. And you go, oh, I got to do that. And those are the things you write down. Don't necessarily write down what I'm saying. Don't try and take notes. There's no test, except for Maz. I'm going to give Maz a test. But if something comes to you like, I can do that, those are the things you write down. And then you review your sheet at the end of the time, or maybe tomorrow, and you say, those are the things you're actually going to remember, and those are the things that you can actually put into practice. Make sense? So one of the great quotes that I came across was, to become something better, you must do some things better. Make sense? Not everything. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be, this, because we as people, we tend to hold ourselves up to people on TV and actresses and actors and, beautiful people, that have perfect bodies and so forth. Well, it turns out that's not actually that healthy. In body fat percentage, because we used to measure body fat percentage. Did anyone come to last year's health talk, losing weight talk? Anybody? Well, we did, after the class, we did body fat percentage. And we had people go in for several months and then checking again and so forth. It turns out that what we think is healthy is all based on what the world thinks is healthy. Like, those people look healthy, so we're going to measure them. What was their blood pressure? Well, it was 120/80. Well, that must be healthy because they look healthy. But is that true or is it not true? Those people could have had heart disease just like other people could have heart disease. Those people could have been low or high. But they measure, and same thing, they say that body fat percentage, well, that guy's 10%. He looks good. So I guess we should all be 10%. The reality is we're not all supposed to be 10%. Some of us have bigger bones, some of us have different structures, some of us do different things. So you can't hold yourself to that. And that's why I don't like scales. I tell people to throw out your scale. Measure it based on how you feel and how you fit your clothes. That's a much better gauge because no one is going to fit in your clothes the same way that you are. So if someone fit in your clothes, like, for example, if a soccer athlete has really big, strong legs and they put on certain pants and they're, tight in the pants, does that mean that the pants are they're too fat? No, they're perfectly adapted for what they do. Does that make sense? So when and we'll talk about each category. One of the categories is how you think. But the first thing you got to realize is stop putting yourself up to this model. Like, what should I look like? And another thing is how you should feel. So a lot of people say, well, I'm tired more than I ever used to be. You say, yeah, you're also older than you used to be. Are you supposed to be, like I watch my kids run around. And we got a new trampoline for Christmas, and they jump on the trampoline. And those kids can jump for 20 minutes. I jump for 5 minutes, I'm dying. And I'm fairly decent shape. I thought, well, how is it that they can jump longer than I am? Because they're younger than I am. I've got several decades on them. So one of the things is stop comparing yourself, stop caring what that is, and start doing things for health. I always say the big why. Did anyone come to my makeovers? Anyone been to a makeover? We used to do Maximize Living makeovers. Katie did. And we talk about the big why. Why do you want to be healthy? Why do you want to make changes? Why do you want to adopt different diets? Why do you want to be healthier in general? And some people say, well, I want to feel better. It's a pretty weak why. And some people say, well, I want to look better in my clothes. Yeah, that's a really weak why. A bigger why would be, I want to be around for my grandkids. I want to be able to be a good father to my kids that's active and can actually bend down and hug them and can play with them and do all that kind of stuff. I don't want to be the kind of dad that just sits in the chair and just can barely move and has to go to the hospital and all that kind of stuff. That's a much more powerful why. Why are you doing it? And the premise that I always say is, if your why is powerful, then you do things. If your why is really weak, then not so much. Make sense? So there's another thing that I always say is that, and there's a great thing in the Alcoholics Anonymous thing, which is one day at a time. Take one day at a time. And it's true of anything, any change you make in your body. You take one day at a time, and you keep moving, and you keep moving. And there's a general rule of 30 days, which if you do something every day for 30 days, it starts to become a pattern. And you start to get used to it, and it starts to become easier, and it starts to become less painful, and so forth. So if you're working out, and you work out every day for 30 days, you start to get good at it. You start to like it more. You start to adopt it more. Your muscles don't get as sore, that kind of stuff. If you're changing your diet, and you change your diet every day for 30 days, you start to get better at it, and so forth. Why is it 30 days? Anyone know?
Is that the life cycle of the cell?
No.
Becomes a habit.
It becomes a habit. So we start to groove it neurologically. So cells can last different times. It's a good answer, but so the premise is that we start to groove neurologically. At first, it's a shock to our system. We don't like it. And then over time, over that third and fourth week, we start to get used to it. It starts to become better and better and better. Now, the first 30 days is the hard part. Then it starts getting easier. But it turns out that our body doesn't adapt in the first 30 days. It just starts to develop the neurologic pathways. And then over the next year is when you really start to adapt. So for example, if I was to go up to Tuktoyaktuk, say that a million times fast, that's way up in the Arctic and live with the Eskimos and stuff, and they eat whale blubber and they have certain diets and so forth. If I start to adopt their diet, at first I would hate it, yeah? And then after 30 days, I'd be kind of getting used to it, but it's still not, my body's not adapted to the whale blubber by any means. But over a year, my body, the digestive acids, the enzymes, the whole cellular structure starts to develop a unity with that diet. Make sense? So the first 30 days, very important, but the first year, also very important. But for the first thing, 30 days. Give it 30 days. The other thing is, if you make drastic changes, like if I went to the Arctic and tried that, that's a drastic change, a very drastic change. My body's going to buck the system big time. Same is true if I went and did the boot camp, which I did over Christmas, and I hadn't done any boot camps and stuff, and so I did the boot camp, and I could barely walk for 2 days. That's pretty, and I'm fairly decent shape. I mean, it's a shock to the system. So the more easy you make it, make little changes, easier to adopt, and then you can expand on the little changes. Make sense? So, the other thing that I tell people is that there's two ways, this is still in the introduction, there's two ways that people fail. One is that they're not disciplined enough, makes very easy sense, and the second is they don't give it enough time. If you know that, then don't get so harsh, down on yourself if you fall off track. What do you do if you fall off and you, let's say you set a rule for yourself, I'm not going to eat a certain food. I'm not going to eat McDonald's hamburgers. I'm going to start for 30 days, and then I'm going to keep going. And let's say after day 5, you just couldn't help yourself. You ate a McDonald's hamburger. What do you do? What do you think you do?
Continue eating it.
Continue eating those McDonald's hamburgers? No, that's not what you should. So you get back on track. You come on in. You have to agree that not everyone's perfect and that you get back on track. A good way that, and I'm not suggesting that you do this, come on in. A good way to kind of show you that is, a long time ago I did this challenge, and it was 30 days, and I had to get up at 4:30 a.m. And I had to do this every day for 30 days. I had to get up at 4:30 a.m. and I did a half an hour of exercise, whatever that may be, walk, light jog, something like that, half an hour of reading, and then a half an hour of meditation or prayer. And so at whatever it was, 6 a.m., I could either go back to bed or I could stay up and get ready for work and do whatever. But it had to be 4:30 a.m. and it had to be, those three things. And I had to do it for 30 days. And the first few days, I was excited. I got up at 4:30, I dragged myself out of bed, and I did it. And then after the third or fourth or fifth day, I'm getting up, and the whole premise of that activity is to learn to listen to that little voice inside your head. The little voice that always tells you how much of a fool you are, how you're going to fail at everything, that you're no good, that this is dumb, that, that kind of stuff. And believe me, that voice gets louder each and every day. But after the fourth or fifth day, I slept in, and I missed it. So you start again from scratch. Day one starts the next day. And I was committed to doing this, so I started again, and I did it again. And the second time I lasted a little longer. I think I went 12 days or something. And then I totally just slept right through my alarm, and I had to start again. And the third or fourth time that I failed at this, now I was really getting mad at myself because this is going on too long. But when you finish that kind of thing and you go 30 days, you realize how powerful it is to make that 30 days. So if you fail in the first 30 days, you don't get down on yourself because everybody fails. Then you just reset, start again. And you go for 30 days. And once you make the 30 days, then you keep going. And if you want to set yourself a specific, time to indulge a little bit, great. You say, okay, well, I've made it 30 days. I'm going to reward myself with this way or whatever it is. That makes sense? But the whole premise is you got to be disciplined and you got to give it enough time for this to become a pattern in your body. But is there anybody in here that doesn't think they can do it? Yeah, everyone can do it. Everyone can do it. There's no two ways about it. You just have to make changes in the way you move, the way you eat, the way you think. So, starting with eating. Now, like I said, I changed this talk a lot. I was giving a lot of stuff on food and what to eat, what not to eat, how it affects your body, how to increase your metabolism, how to do all these kind of things. And I decided I would just go into a very easy thing, which is a 30-day challenge. It's very, very easy. And it's written here, you do a cellular cleanse first. So I've been talking a lot about a cellular cleanse. I personally like the neural cleanse, which we have coming, I think, right? Okay, so we ordered a few kits and stuff. It's 30 days. It cleans all the toxins out of your body. Why do we start there? Very simple. For one, those toxins build up in our system, so it's good to get them out. It's good to clean your system. But secondly, if you're trying to lose weight or if you're trying to become healthier, those toxins definitively get in the way. And so the way I would describe it is if you take, I'm not saying this as anybody, my artwork is very good normally, but let's say that I take a person that looks like that, and they have a certain toxic load. Let's say that we'll put in 6 dots. Those are toxins in their system. So that concentration is 6, let's say. 6, and that's the size. If I was to lose weight in that person without doing a toxic cleanse, and I shrink them down to this size, so that person has lost some weight, but they have not lost any toxicity. Now those toxins, which are the same toxins as before, are in a much more concentrated form. So if this size went down like double, so I took that size and I halved it, now the toxic load would be 12. That makes sense? So it's double the toxicity. Your body, as you become more and more toxic, will fight that and will look to put on weight to try and offset that. In other words, your body wants to go back here because this is a less of a toxic load. That makes sense? So and here's what happens with a lot of people. If we go through a cleanse, and so here's the person, exact same weight, but now let's say they only have 2, so their toxic load is 2, now your body feels good. And it doesn't feel bad about getting more concentrated. So it may go down in size, which now is 4, but is still less than it used to be. And it does that naturally without dieting. So a lot of people lose weight with just doing a cleanse. Does that make sense? So the premise of doing a cleanse first is twofold. One is it helps people to become less toxic. Two is it helps you to lose weight and become a normal weight anyway. Does that make sense? So the premise with the cleanse, there's lots of different varieties of cleanses, and I can, help you out with that. But I always look at the two factors, which are cost, because some cleanses are $500, $600, $700, and time or effort. So some cleanses take a ton of time and a ton of effort to do. But there's going to be a cost either way, whether it costs you money or whether it costs you time. So like, for example, the juicing cleanse, you have to buy all the vegetables, you have to juice them every day. You can't just, buy the shake. You have to do that all naturally and all that kind of stuff. Whereas the neuro cleanse, which is the one I favor, is relatively low in cost and it's very easy to do. So, and we will have some of those probably next week, but or maybe later this week. But if not, you can always go to the Maximize Living website that Ashton will have a sheet on that. So start with a 30-day cleanse. The other part of that is eat healthy foods each day for how long? 30 days. So when I say eat healthy foods, what do I mean?
Whole foods.
Whole foods?
God's plan food.
What's that?
Plan food.
God's plans foods, God-made foods, yep.
No sugar.
No sugar. So I've gone to kindergartens and I've done speeches. I've gone to junior high schools, done speeches, and to high schools. I've done speeches in front of large crowds and small crowds. And when I ask them what healthy foods is, they all say the same kind of things. We all know what healthy food is. It is God-made food, food that actually came from the ground, that was organically grown, that is healthy for our body. It turns out that physiologically, our body, the way our enzymes and digestive acids and our digestive tract is, it's exactly paired with food that's naturally grown. So our enzymes know it already. In fact, we innately know that food before we've even eaten it. So when they've done studies on people who've never eaten, let's just say an orange. So when they see the orange, their body is already creating the environment to digest that exact orange. So it already knows, just by seeing it, the digestive acids and the enzymes and everything else to ready to digest that orange. And when it comes in, it's exactly matched. Whereas when I eat a orange-colored vitamin pill, my body doesn't know what that is. Could contain anything, right? So we don't know what it is. And when it comes in, a lot of the enzymes stand around and go, well, where's the peel? Where's the fiber? There's nothing for us to do. And that's where if you eat a very man-made diet with a lot of chemicals, a lot of man-made stuff, not only is it not geared for your digestive tract, it's not natural for you in the first place. That makes sense? So most vitamins, most people don't realize that a vitamin pill, which is, I don't recommend a multivitamin. The reason I don't is because the vast majority of those multivitamins are made in a laboratory. So they're not natural for your body anyway. So eating healthy can mean a lot of things. There's a ton of choices, but it's eating healthy for 30 days. So you make that call. Eat healthy for 30 days. Notice that I'm not telling you how many calories to take, and I'm not telling you how to count that up. I don't care, because your body, when you listen to your body, it gets full when you're full, and you obey that. And when you eat a lot of healthy foods, you tend to get full, and you tend to stay full longer. That makes sense? So what's an example of man-made food?
Hot dogs.
Hot dogs? Yeah. I haven't seen any of those roaming the plains lately. What else?
Pizza.
Pizza? Yep.
Ho-hos.
Ho-ho, that's a great example. Anything that can last on your countertop for more than a couple of days, probably man-made. So processed foods, if you go into your grocery store and you walk around the outsides, that's all your man-made, or that's all your God-made foods. If you walk down the aisles, up and down, that's all your man-made foods. God didn't put anything in a can naturally. So canned stuff, anything processed, power bars or those kind of things, those are all man-made foods. So you try and stay healthy with lots of vegetables, meats that are, organically or grass-fed, that kind of stuff, fruits, that kind of stuff. So eat healthy 30 days. So after the 30 days, then you can go to what we call a paleo diet. Now I've included that paleo diet form here. Again, I make it ridiculously simple. So if you're not sure if the paleo diet, so the paleo diet is kind of, it's meat and vegetables, basically. By the way, anyone know how much meat a natural serving should be? Palm of your hand, yeah. Size of a credit card. If you make a fist, roughly that big. So when you go to Claim Jumpers or any of these restaurants and they come out with a steak that's bigger than your head, and they come out with, other, fish on the side and other things, that's way more protein than you need. And I used to give a lot of the grams, like how many grams of protein you need, and you measure it from your body weight and all that kind of stuff. I don't give that anymore. But if you do have, a lot of meals I eat is just vegetables. So 50% of your diet should be vegetables. 50%. A lot of times for dinner nowadays, my wife and I, we just have vegetables. We cook them in different ways, or we have different things, and we just eat vegetables, no meat. And this is very strange for me because I grew up with Scottish parents, and it was always a meat, a vegetable, and a potato. I mean, that's what I got every meal, Sometimes a fish, vegetable, and a potato, but it was always something. And when there's just vegetables, I kind of go, this is 1/3 of my meal, right? So it takes how long? 30 days to get over that little shock, but vegetables should make up 50% of your diet. The rest, I said, is up to you. So if you're a meat eater, great. If you want to include some fruits or some other stuff, great. Try and avoid the processed foods as much as possible. By the way, I talk a lot about, and we'll talk about supplementation, but I talk a lot about grass-fed beef and all that stuff. And some of you have undoubtedly seen the videos that I've shown when you come in. The benefit of grass-fed or naturally raised meats is that those things are natural for our body. And if you look at the ratios of omega acids and stuff in that kind of meat, it's very healthy for us. If you take a cow that's grossly obese, that was fed sugar its whole life, that has massive diabetes, that's been fed antibiotics the whole life, do you think that's good and healthy for us? So, question, if you go out to eat, and I don't care where it is, what are you likely to get? Good, healthy, grass-fed beef or commercially raised beef? Commercially raised beef, yeah, no doubt about it. So when you are going out to eat, and I'm not saying don't go out to eat, but when you are going out to eat, that's what you're getting. So eat smaller portions of that. Vegetables can be both, right? So I try not to give you too much detail, but 50% vegetables, try and stay on that path. So supplementation, I recommend 3 things for most people. This is after the cleanse. So when you're doing a cleanse, you don't supplement at all. So you stop on all those things. But when you're afterwards, vitamin D is, almost everyone is deficient in the United States in vitamin D. So the government recommends 280 IUs. I recommend 5,000 IUs. I recommend that for 2 reasons. One is almost everyone's low, so that helps to bring you up. And secondly, 280 is ridiculously low. So if you are getting a lot of good sunshine, and we all think, well, we live in California, there's lots of sunshine, but as funny as it sounds, we just don't get it. We cover up, we put sunscreen on, all that kind of stuff, we put hats on, whatever it is. So 5,000 IUs a day of vitamin D3. Helps your bones, helps your immune system, helps your skin. Second thing is omega-3 fish oil. So omega-3 fish oil comes in 3 varieties. I recommend the DHA and the EPA variety because those will balance out your body. If you're like me and you've eaten a lot of meat in your lifetime, you are undoubtedly out of balance in terms of your omega ratios. The omega-3 brings that balance more into focus, and it helps you stay much more anti-inflammatory. That makes sense? So if you're very inflammatory, how do you feel? Achy, sore. Everything hurts, joints don't respond very well. You take the omega-3 and you balance that omega ratio, how do you think you feel? Much better. Cleans out your arteries, helps your heart function better, all that kind of stuff. So that's a no-brainer. And then antioxidants, we all have heard this term antioxidants. I recommend a powerful antioxidant. It can be on many forms. So the green drink is very good if you've seen our green drink, or there's lots of different varieties of green drink. Protandim is a product that I found just a little while ago, which is a very, very powerful antioxidant. Basically, our body creates free radicals, which oxidizes our tissues or damages our tissues. If you've got a lot of antioxidants in your body, you're fighting it off and you are basically keeping your body from being damaged. Antioxidants are also very important in aging. So your skin doesn't age as much, your organs don't age as much, your nerves don't age as much. So when you have a powerful antioxidant in your system, you do much better. The cool thing is the cleanse that I prefer has a tremendous amount of glutathione, which is the most powerful antioxidant known. So you are getting a ton of antioxidant activity from the cleanse, and then if you continue with the Protandim, which also stimulates glutathione production in your body, you are getting tremendous protection from damage in your body on a regular basis. Now, question?
Is concentrated cherry juice good for
It is an antioxidant. It's not one of the most powerful ones by any means. I mean, blueberries is a known very powerful antioxidant. There's a few others, but you know, and if you're eating lots of vegetables, you're getting a lot of antioxidants as well. But I recommend supplementing because, you know, we're exposed to a lot of stuff. We just create a lot of free radicals even when you're very healthy. So that's just a no-brainer that protects you. By the way, how often do I recommend doing a cleanse? Once a year, yeah. So for me, once a year is enough. Some people do it twice a year. That's okay too. But when you do a cleanse, if you decide you want to do a cleanse twice a year, then you stop the regular stuff and you just do the cleanse. Make sense? So let's talk about moving, because this is a big one as well. Most people, and I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say most people in this country don't move their body through a full range of motion on a daily basis. So what happens to me if I was to take my arm, let's say, and I'm not going to move my arm for a day? How would it feel? I just keep it right like that, immobilized. After the day, how would I feel?
Stiff.
A little stiff. If I did it for a week, how would it feel? Stiffer. If I did it for a month, how would it feel? Are you getting the analogy? So the premise there is that you want to move your body, each and every joint, through its full range of motion every single day. Anyone have an idea of what yoga is based on? Moving your body through a full range of motion in many ways, building strength and motion. Same with Pilates, same with a lot of these things. Same with Tai Chi, same with martial arts, is to move your body through a full range of motion every single day. You have to give time to do this. So some people say they go to the gym, and I've seen guys, and I'm sure you guys have all seen them too, that they go to the gym and they plunk themselves down in the pec machine and they do pecs, and then they go to another machine, they do biceps, and they sort of look at themselves in the mirror, and then they do more pecs and do more biceps. And you know, do you think that's a real healthy thing? No. And so the premise there is that you have to allow time, and you have to, if you don't have a clue as to how to do this, get some help doing it. And I'd be happy to help you. I know the other doctors would be happy to help you, to help either give you a stretching program. I recommend that everyone do, and probably some people have seen the spinal movements that I do. I think there's some sheets around that show you how to do it, but you move your spine through its full range of motion every single day. It moves in 6 directions: forward, back, lean to the side, turns, and turns. And if you're moving your entire body through those, well, entire spine, then you're moving every joint that you have in your spine through its full range of motion, and you do it at least once a day. In fact, with people that work in an office setting, I tell them to get up, move your body through that full range, forward, back, side, turn, neck, mid-back, lower back. And then you start with your arms. You start with your fingers. Move your fingers through a full range of motion. People that say, oh, it happens naturally. I guarantee you that throughout a day, if you look back on your day, there's be lots of parts of your body that you didn't move through a full range of motion. You just don't do it. So one of the things is allow yourself some time. What we say, give yourself some double yellow line time. If you're on the freeway and you see a double yellow line, what does that mean? Don't cross it. Yeah. So if you allow yourself, it could be 10 minutes. If you're a night owl, give it to yourself at night. If you're a morning person, give it to yourself in the morning. But that time, that 10 minutes, is time to move, to stretch, to get your body going, and nothing disrupts you from that. Nothing moves you. You get double yellow lines. You can't, your phone rings and you say, oh my God, someone's called me, that's important. I better turn my own health off so I can answer this call, you know. You don't do it because you double yellow lines. That person will leave a message. Back before phones were, invented, we somehow got along. It was amazing. And I even had a beeper. And my beeper would go off and I couldn't talk to them instantly. So I had to stop at the 7-Eleven and put money in the phone and call them. So we know that it can be done, but you have to allow some time. And how often do you have to do this? Every day. So you allow yourself 10 minutes, 5 minutes. It doesn't take a long time to move. Just move your body through a full range of motion. And it doesn't necessarily have to be done professionally. I don't care if you do it right. Just do it. And do it for how many days in a row? And then it starts to become a pattern. So I do this when I'm brushing my teeth. Is there any hygienists in here? Good. So the hygienist that I said, I do it when I'm brushing my teeth because I move my spine. So I'm brushing, and it takes almost the same time to brush my teeth as it does to move my spine. So I start with my neck, and I move my neck forward and back and side. I'm brushing inside, and I turn, and she goes, we should never do that. What happens if you fell and your toothbrush went in your mouth? So, why did I fall? I'm not on a tightrope, So I said, I get it, but that's when I do it. So that works for me. And guess what? I brush my teeth twice a day, so I do that thing twice a day. And I start with my mid back, and I move side, turn, then I do my lower back. Down, back, side, turn, and then I go, good. Now my spine's moved at least once through its full range motion every day. And then, if you allow yourself, if you work out, maybe you allow yourself 10 minutes before you work out or 10 minutes after you work out. If you want to allow it in the middle of the day, if you have time, if you're working and you have a lunch hour, great, 10 minutes. But when your co-employee says, hey, let's go do something, you say, no, I got my yellow lines here. I got 10 minutes, I got to just stretch. I'll meet you right after that. Make sense? So you gotta make it those double yellow lines. Exercise. So exercise is very important. I recommend, now again, you kind of have to figure out like little gems that work for you, but I recommend that you exercise in bursts, whatever that means. So I've done whole classes on burst training, but it means that you go fast, and then you go slower, you stop. Then you go fast, slower, stop. So if you're walking, if you and your friends like to walk, you walk and you say, okay, for 30 seconds, we're going to walk fast. Good. We get it on. And then for 30 seconds, you can stop. Just catch your breath. And for 30 seconds, and you'll get so much more out of your exercise by doing it that way than if you just walk slowly or just constantly, like the treadmill thing, when you're just on the treadmill and you're going along and for 30 minutes. Because guess what? Your body is incredibly intelligent. And just like you, let's say that you were, having to run on a wheel or something like that to power a bigger system. You would get to know exactly when that wheel has to turn. You would get to know exactly how you have to do it, and you would maximize the economy of that. And the same is true of your body. If you're going for 30 minutes, it starts to get more economical, and you burn less and less calories, and you burn less and less of your metabolism. But if you're bursting, it doesn't know when it can do it. And you're going to burn way more calories. You're going to bring up your metabolism. When you do burst training like that, you actually burn calories far more throughout the whole day. And you have more energy throughout the whole day because your body is now not sure when the next burst is coming. That makes sense? So burst training is very, very important. Obviously, taking awesome care of your spine is huge. And now this is huge on many levels, but in your spine, when you look at all the sensors of your spine, there is more proprioceptors or receptors in your spine than anywhere else in your entire body. So if you have issues in your spine, or people you know have issues in your spine, that has a bigger negative impact on your brain and on the way your body functions, the physiology, than anywhere else in the body. So anyone know what proprioception is?
It's your ability to know if you're holding out your hand or
Right.
whatever.
So awesome. So it's joint activity. So if I closed my eyes and I had my arm out and someone said, is your arm by your side or out? I already know it's out, because all the receptors in all the joints are telling me that the muscles are either stretched or they're not, or the joints are open or not. Turns out we have 10 times the amount of proprioceptors in your spine. If your spine has glitches in it, you're not going to be able to move, and it's going to negatively affect you. That's also what we call stress. So stress doesn't necessarily have to be mental. Stress can be physical. And nowhere else in your whole body than your spine can cause detriment if your spine's out of whack. That's why we recommend regular chiropractic care. It's not so much that we love to have you in good posture and you feel better and you can move. There's also much deeper levels of that. You take good care of your spine, your whole body physiologically functions better, because you have more proprioception and your brain is able to communicate better with your organs and cells and so forth. So I put that on there with movement because it's very important. The other thing is that you can't move, you can't blink your eyes without stabilizing your spine first. So if I'm going to squeeze my hand, I can't picture yourself in space. If we're just floating in space, I can't just go somewhere. I can't say, there's my spaceship over there. I'll just go there. You have to either push off against something or you have to pull something, right? You have to have something to lever yourself against. The same is true of your body, and everything levers against your spine. So your spine is that other spaceship that I can push off of. If that spaceship is anchored, I can really push and go fast. But if that spaceship is just floating as well, then when I push, it's going to go that way and I'm going to go this way. So the spine has more to it than just, posture. Everything you do is strengthened if your spine is strengthened. Make sense? So let's talk about thinking, because this potentially is the biggest one. When I've met people that are dedicated and are absolute motivated to lose weight, guess what happens? They lose weight. And I could give them the best system or the worst system, they still lose weight. Every single weight loss program in the world, whether it be Weight Watchers or LA Fitness or South Beach Diet or whatever blood type diet, they all work. But guess who they work for? People that are dedicated and motivated to do that. So thinking is a huge part of it. And one of the things that I always say, and before we go into this, coming back to that original premise, is you gotta understand that this body that you currently are living in is intelligent. That God created, this incredible intelligence that runs your body. I have so much more faith in this intelligence and in all of your intelligence than I would ever have in any sort of medical doctor or medical science or journal or whatever. So, in other words, I trust that this will know what to do. And this has much better and higher healing capacity than any surgeon will ever have. Make sense? So when you do the right things, you know your body's going to get healthier and it's going to be better. Even if it doesn't feel better, it's still better. And the analogy I always use, and some of you guys have heard me say this, is if I took a bicycle wheel and I walked halfway up a hill and I put that bicycle wheel on the path, it's going to roll downhill, yeah? If I did it 100 times, how many times out of 100 is it going to roll downhill? Is it ever going to roll uphill? Never. Not unless I'm in Knott's Berry Farm and it's all the trick windows and stuff. So it's going to roll downhill 100% of the time. The same is true of your body. You start doing things healthier, your body will move to a healthier state. How many times out of 100? 100. And does that mean you'll always feel better? Because most of us gauge things on feeling. Maybe not. If I took a heroin addict and I took them off heroin, is that a healthy thing or an unhealthy thing? Healthy thing. Are they going to feel better or worse? Way worse. Way worse. But does that mean I give them heroin again? Well, it's not working. Here's your heroin. No. So the whole premise is you do healthy things, trust the intelligence within your body, you will move to exactly who you are supposed to be, how your body's supposed to function, and so forth. If your blood pressure goes up, great. Your body's doing it for a reason. If your cholesterol goes up, awesome. Your body's raising the cholesterol for a reason. Even if I don't understand the reason, I don't want to try and get in the way. I just do healthy things that's your body's going to function at a higher level. Make sense? So, same thing with exercise. You give 10 minutes a day or however long you need. For me, it's however long it takes me to brush my teeth. What is that? 4 seconds, I think. No, I'm kidding. So, however long that is, a couple minutes. So, you give yourself some time to focus and set your mind and look at the goals. I always say write them out. You know, what are you supposed to do? You know, you can look at this sheet. You can write things on this sheet if you want. 10 minutes, you have your solid yellow lines to go over that, to replan, to reseed, to refocus, whatever you need to do. But you have to do it how often? Daily basis for how many days? 30 days. So when you do that, though, then you always know how you're doing it. So you might say, well, I got to go shopping and I got to figure this out and I got to do this. I definitely want to do that. And you make yourself some list or whatever it is. For some people, it might be you want to meditate or you want to pray. That's cool too. But you do it with a focus of what you want to accomplish and what day you're on. 30 days, you know, whatever it may be. So when you do that, when you allow yourself that time, and again, if you know yourself, make sure it's a time that you're actually going to stick to. So for me, I'm a night owl. Morning's not so good. So I do it at night because it's much better for me. My wife, definitely a morning person. She might do it in the morning. If you have time during the day, you say, well, I have half an hour for lunch every day. Set it whenever you can set it, but make sure it's a pattern because after 30 days, you're going to start doing it on a regular basis. Make sense? So I told you, trust the intelligence, throw away your scale, stop measuring success by comparing yourself to others. Those things are huge. When you stop wanting what everyone else apparently has, because guess what happens when you achieve what you thought you wanted? What happens? You think your brain says, success, I've arrived, now I'm happy. Or do you just start looking at the next thing? Yeah. So it turns out there's no magic mountain to climb. As soon as you hit the pinnacle of that mountain, there's other mountains that you didn't realize was there in the first place. So being happy and being content is realizing that I'm on the right mountain right now for me, and that's okay. And I don't have to look like whoever, Pamela Anderson or, whatever, David Hasselhoff. Those guys are those guys. Even though I do look like him. So continue to take minutes of 10 minutes today, plan, focus, pray, and energy. So that's after the 30 days, you continue on that plan. Maybe you don't have to do it every single day, but you still have to get it in. And so when you plan, like for example, I always say, when you go to a baseball game, or I guess, we have baseball here. If you go to a Kings game or whatever it is, if I plan and I know I'm going in the first place and I bring with me some healthy snacks and whatever it is, I got my water, whatever, I go, then I eat that during the game, right? But if I don't plan, what am I likely to eat? Hot dogs and beer and whatever it is, or whatever. Do you think that's going to be healthy or not healthy? Do they have healthy choices at the game? Probably not. So when you plan and you make things in advance, you're going to do so much better that way. Make sense? So hopefully this was easier to incorporate. Hopefully you got a few good things that you're going to implement. Even if it's little things, that's cool. If you have any questions, I'll remain around for a little bit to answer them. If you have questions about like stretching or programs or anything like that, I'm more than happy, and I know the other doctors are too, to answer them and try and help you with those. Supplements as well, whatever we can do to make you a healthier you, let us know. Cool? God bless you all. Thank you so much for coming, and we'll see you next time.